Hey guys, welcome back to War Room, and this is for Grand Tactician. We're going to talk about definitions. Now, the reason we're doing definitions is because if we don't know what our units are doing, or what they are, or what they represent, especially as far back as over 153 years ago, then what chance do you have of commanding them properly in a battlefield, right? So the first thing I'm going to start with is smoothbore versus rifled weapons, right? Now, this is very important because this is the age of muskets and cannon, and so just before the Civil War, a huge invention came out, and that was the rifled round. Now, this is a very terrible, picture. But these are going to be the barrels of two rifles. This is going to be a smooth bore, and this is going to be rifled. Okay, and this is supposed to be the rifling that you would see. So basically, imagine looking down the rifle. Don't do that for real. All right, and you were to look down the rifle of a smooth bore rifle and a rifled rifle, basically a rifled musket. All right, you're going to see two separate things. If you look down the smooth bore, it looks like a pipe. It's just basically a pipe. You would pack the musket down this pipe with some gunpowder, and then you would fire it, and it would go, and that's the end of it. It was basically a big circle ball. That was your ammunition. The rifled round, this was a huge technological advance forward. Okay, if you look down the barrel, you'll see these little ridges that look like a peppermint stripe. Okay, getting closer and closer to your face, and the ammunition, I mean, you could use the ball ammunition, but they also had like one that would look like a normal bullet that you would see in today's, day and age. The reason this was a huge technology advancement was because the old smoothbore, the round balls that went in here, they were so inaccurate. It was if you've ever played paintball or played airsoft, you know what I'm talking about. You've seen it when you're on a windy day or something. You could see that, because that's exactly what the paintball has. It's a smooth bore with the paintball going through it. Excuse me. And you basically have the ball going out, leaving the barrel, and is subjected to the wind and gravity and everything around it, affecting it. And so you could even see the ammunition going off left or right or up or whatever, however the wind was that day. It was horrible. And so the reason for the volley system, and we'll talk about the volley system, was to get as much firepower down the range as quickly as possible, so that if somebody did miss, at least it would hit somebody else. The idea was you'd have enough ammunition flying down the way that you'd hit something, right? The rifle round changed all that. It causes the ammunition to spin as it leaves the barrel, kind of like the football spinning when the quarterback throws the ball, right? So it cuts through that air. It's throwing that air in a different direction. It's allowing it to stay straighter, right? And hit its target a little bit better. Now, why do you want to know this in this game? Because if you're using smoothbore, if you click on your units, it'll tell you if they're using smoothbore or rifled, or a mixture of both. It's going to affect your distance accuracy. So with this smoothbore, you're not going to get as much rifle or range. Okay. And you're also not going to get a lot of accuracy. So that's going to affect how far away your guys can fire from, right? So you have to think strategically, where am I going to place these guys when I do fight them? Am I going to have to, because it means you have to get closer to the fight, right? You're going to have to travel that field longer and get blown away by artillery and other units before you even reach them to even have a chance of being accurate, versus the rifled rounds that allows you to attack at a further distance. Rifle rounds are perfect for pickets, and I'll talk about pickets as well. Okay, so let's talk about the volley system. Now, the volley system, and this is a very bad drawing, I'm sorry guys, but I'm big into whiteboard. In my other channel, I use whiteboards for tutorials. And a lot of people like them. Some people like them, some people don't. But the objective here is to give you guys an idea of what's going on. So the volley system is the system in which all of these rifles, piss-poor rifles, and even the newer rifled rounds, they were to get together. So this is your Confederates versus the Union. This is they're all shooting at each other, pew pew, little muskets going back and forth. And the objective here was to gain every single bit of firepower at one moment, aim at the other guy, and then fire. Okay, because they only get one shot, and maybe on a good day, in 30 seconds you can get one reloaded quickly. and within 30 seconds. If you're good, if you're really, really good and you really well manage your rifle. But the thing is, though, in reality, it would take, especially under pressure and the stress, PTSD, these guys, it could take anywhere from a minute, maybe more, just to get that thing ready and then line up and do another volley. So when you do another volley, the whole purpose was to take these terrible rifles, put them together, create a wall of lead, and hopefully demoralize the other unit. All right, so let's talk about the term picket. You'll hear this, and you probably read this in books if you ever read about the Civil War. But a picket was an idea of you send forward skirmishers or smaller groups from the regiment forward to act as like lookouts. Basically, they would find a post, they would stay there, they would report back. Okay, in the game, there's not much of that of picketing. In the game Scourge of War, there is. In this game, you just have your skirmishers, and that's just as good. So when you go on the defensive, as far as your selections for formation go, if you're on the defense, all your units that can will send forward their skirmishers, and they act as pickets. And they're going to be the first line of defense if anybody comes across them, and it's usually the guys with the rifled rounds, so they can shoot at a further distance and harass the enemy long before they even get to them. And that's picket. Okay, now we're going to talk about anchoring or pinning. This is another definition. I use this in the button control, excuse me, or our basic units. So pinning, I call it anchoring. Some people call it pinning, especially the war gamers, the grognards. They're going to call it pinning. Basically what happens is because you have the age of musket, and these guys are all facing you with volleys, and you facing them. When these two units come together and they start going back and forth fighting, okay, they are anchored in. A commander will look at this and say they're anchored, they're not going anywhere. Because if these guys start to go backwards, all right, even if they're falling back, okay, even if they start falling back, this blue bar will have all the advantages in the world because you're retreating and turning your backs. The volleys are going to be much more intense, and yes, it is modified in the game. Even when you fall back, which is a lot safer than just moving, excuse me, or retreating, there's a modifier against you. I guarantee it. I don't know the numbers or the programming of this game, but I guarantee if these guys are as good as they are making this game, that's going to be a factor. So once you're anchored, you're stuck. And this is the importance of having reserve forces to bring up. And we'll talk about formations in another video. All right, the next we're going to hear a lot of is the line. What is the line? So if you like football, line of scrimmage, okay, it's wherever the two forces meet, all right, and they're going to have this fight. Now, I'm not just using this as an example. This is every regiment, okay? As you plan your formations, you're going to have to form a line. If you have, a red one down here and up here, you have a very broken line. You have to form a good line because you're going to start thinking about volleys, and you're going to start thinking about positioning, right? You're going to be positioning your troops in areas that are going to give you the best advantage on hills and cover and what have you. So the line of scrimmage, if you will, the battle line, this is where all your units will be next to each other, okay? And then it's also how you form your centers and your flanks, which we'll cover here really shortly. Now we're going to talk about flank. This is a very important term that we need to know about because flanks are the entirety of the line, okay? And you have to know your center from your right, from your left. So obviously these two guys here in this 3-regimental fight, this will be center. I didn't put a label up here. I don't think I need to. But then, I mean, the center could be 4 or 5 guys wide, 4 or 5 regiments wide. Your right could be 3 or 4. Your left, it could be different depending on what it is. Okay, and so let's say the red guys are ours. This would be our left flank. This will be our right flank. And then when you're talking about his flanks, it's opposite. Obviously, this is my right. This is his left. My left, his right. Okay, so it's a very important term to understand. You want to protect your flanks. We're going to talk about in another video formations and how important they are to us, but that's not going to be that video right now. So this is your flanks, what they're designated, center, and we'll go from there. Okay, so another term you're going to hear, I don't know if it's in this game, but you're going to hear it if you're getting into the Civil War, is called rolling up, okay? So in this example, from the last one, we had our flanks, and then all of a sudden blue has pushed and rolled up the Confederates' left flank. What that means is you've broken their morale or pushed them back, or even if you fall back, they're rolling up that flank, and that's a very, very seriously dangerous situation, especially in the Civil War, because now the center is going to be exposed to these guys once this left flank breaks morale-wise, okay? This is a dangerous situation. This is why certain formations like single line are dangerous unless you can defend it. And again, we'll go into formations. We'll have another video about that. But this is another thing. When you hear somebody say, hey, I'm rolling up his left flank, or in this case, the Union is rolling up the Confederates' left flank, then this is a dangerous situation where now you are giving away some space, and now you've got, I know these guys exposed to their left side, okay? Think of it in football terms. Think of it on the line of scrimmage, you know, your defensive ends and all that stuff, you know, the tackles and all that. Once you push back, you know, you got your quarterback is exposed. Same thing. It's no different from a football game. It's just that now that this guy's given some way, this is a problem. Alright, what's up, guys? So this is my last video. This is going to be on morale, okay? Now, I'm sure a lot of you understand what morale is, but we'll go over it really quickly. Morale is your troops' ability to stay in the fight. Are they confident? Are they strong? Are they shattered? Are they broken? Are they routing? What does all that mean? If they're confident, that means they're ready to go, they're ready to fight. No problem, okay? They might be stable, and stable in this game means they're okay to fight, right? They've taken a few losses, but they're still in. Then you have broken. Broken is when they're running around and they're running away from the fight, okay? You've probably seen this already in the game as you've played it. Okay, now I'm not sure. I think there's a routed. If they're routed, that means they're done. They're leaving. They have no forces left. They're gone. Okay, now I don't know how this game has done it. I've played it a few times now. I think routing is the same, where once they're routed, they're done. They're over with. They're running for the door. All right, and there's a few factors that affect morale, and this is very important. So now that we know what morale is, what creates morale, what gives you, you know, your best ability to stay in the fight and fight it out. Well, just because you have good morale and it might be confident, there's a few things that might affect it. So if they're green, meaning they're not veterans, it's their first time fighting, even though they have great morale, it might go away really quickly, okay, because they're green. They've never fought before. Number two, in the last video we talked about outflanked. Being outflanked is a huge morale destroyer. So if your men are outflanked or if you're getting rolled up, this will affect their morale ability. These are just more and more modifiers against you. And then we have support. There are other units close by to support that unit. So even if they're outflanked, is there somebody nearby to help them, such as artillery or other regiments nearby? Okay, so we talked about that line of battle. Each one of those guys next to each other are supporting each other, and that's why it's so important that they're close and near. Okay, and that support is also the commander. Is the commander nearby? If the commander is not nearby, okay, he's going to have issues. All right, that regiment is going to have issues. Okay, detachment. If the unit is detached, that means they're on their own. They're acting on their own, and they're not considered to have support. They may still get support when you put them next to another unit, but all in all, they're by themselves, and that is a factor in morale. I'm not sure if it's actually modeled here in Grand Tactician. However, I do know that in most cases it is in other games, so just be aware of that. So you got, you know, green units, outflanked units, units in or out of support, and then detached or attached units. These are your big factors in whether or not their morale is going to hold up over time.